viewpoints and beliefs presented on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the management, the affiliates and broadcast partners, or the sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Scarefest Radio, the radio you can see.
Hello and welcome to Scarefest TV. I'm Barb. I'll be your host tonight. And I'm joined by Leo Rossi tonight. Hi, Leo.
Hello, Barb. How are you?
Very good. Very good. How about yourself?
You know what? I am recovering from Thanksgiving. Okay.
Very nice. There's leftovers still to eat, I'm sure, right?
No, but it was a great time. And
good deal.
And you had an enjoyable time too, I assume.
Oh, yes. Still leftovers in the fridge to eat, but do you happen to do more of a big family deal or just you and Lynn?
We had, I'm of Sicilian descent.
Okay.
A little Irish in there too. Okay. But we had friends from Sicily over and their kids, and it was loud.
Oh, I bet it was.
Oh, it was loud. I mean, and they have such a love of life that sometimes bypasses us. Now, maybe I'll get criticized for this, but Sicily is like 50 years behind us.
Okay.
And you can tell it when you're there. And my oldest daughter got her master's from the University of Catania. And so I've been all over and I got citizenship. It's a different climate, different pace. That's
yeah,
what
I bet.
is.
Are there any traditions that you guys like to do? Any movies that you like to sit back and watch on Thanksgiving?
The Leopard.
Really?
I mean, the Leopard because they were here. And the Leopard, Burt Lancaster, Alain Delon, it was, and Claudia Cardinal, right?
Okay.
It was a true indication of the Sicilian mindset because they've been conquered so many times, by so many different, the Spaniards, the Arabs, everybody. They've had to build up a certain core, us against the world. And they still have it. Yet they squeeze every ounce. The gal, Esther, right, and Pierluigi, she said, I'm going to make you my specialty. Okay. She made 200, they called them pupettos, little meatballs. They were stacked up like a Christmas tree.
Oh, my gosh. And
it was like, I couldn't keep my hands off them,
Someone was really cooking. That's a lot of work for Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah. But we had 21 people. So it was cool, man.
That's decent size. So that's enough. There's probably a kids table off to the side.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
No, you hit that on the head. The kids table on the side and everything. But
absolutely.
Very family.
Yeah, that's nice. It's nice to hear about traditions. Everyone has different ones, so.
Right. And it's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Because and believe me, I'm not political, but if one thing we have to concentrate on to improve, it's family life. Yeah. And the election, leading up to it was the thing. And like I said, I'm not political, but I would see brothers against brothers. I would see families not talking to other families. Come on, man.
Well, I find that Thanksgiving usually either brings people together or can create a little bit of a division.
That's why we brought the Sicilians over.
There you go.
I don't want to talk about anybody else.
Right?
So it was cool.
Great.
It was
well,
really
Leo,
cool.
so you as far as talking about diving into your history with acting, I wanted to talk to you about community theater. And I guess that's where you got your
Yeah,
start.
yes, I did
Okay.
community theater in Philadelphia. Now, when we talk about community theater, the theater was the Abbey stage door, 600 seats. And for Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and the matinee Sunday, it would be packed every night. Now, the neighborhood was mostly Jewish who really appreciate the theater. And it was like I was spoiled. I thought that this is what community theater is. No, it's not. Usually it's sometimes the cast outnumbers the audience, but not there. And I knew from the start because I was in business with my father, and I went to Villanova University on a football scholarship, so I didn't study, but I was, you know, in business with him, and was I doing it for him? I don't know, maybe, but I was not happy. I went to 1 year law school, and I'm not confrontational, so that was a no go, right?
At least you
And
knew right away this is not going to work.
oh yeah, no, forget about it. But I said forget about it.
I was waiting to hear.
I was not going to
Forget
say
about
that.
it.
I was not going to say that because when I went to New York for the acting, I used to talk with a Philly accent.
Okay.
And what that is, why don't you come over? We'll have a hoagie and watch the Eagles. And when I went to New York, I said, oh, that's not going to fly. That's not going to fly. So I had to get the Brooklyn or the Bronx accent, pretty close. And the one word that would kick me in is forget about it.
Forget about it.
You know?
That's great.
As a matter of fact, the movie that became popular in was Donnie Brasco, Johnny
Yes.
Depp. And I have a podcast with Joe Pistone.
I know.
The real life
You
Donnie
took what I
Brasco.
was going to I was going to talk to you about this later too.
Yeah, it's the truth. It was like, and it was really a challenge for me. Like I said, I started out in college on the radio. Okay, WWVU, the Kingdom of Woo-Woo, 640 on your AM dial, and that's when, and Wes probably knows this too. He's an old timer. He's probably a lot older than me. But anyway, it's like you could have your own personality. It wasn't Metro Media where you had to be, yes, like the guy before you and the guy after you. No, 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 no. You could be
So there's
your
no
own.
micromanagement. You get to kind of
No.
just
Oh,
try it on your own.
I would start. Yes, it's me, your bumblebee, your uptight stinger, out of sight swinger, saying, come one, come all. We're going to have a ball in a hall. I want to see your face in a place because you can holler for $1. I'm too hot to be stopped, too smooth to be moved, too high to get over, and too wide to get around.
Oh, nice.
And they allowed me to do that.
So was this before in the timeline? Was this
This was
before you got into it?
right in between in my college.
Okay.
To right before I went to New York,
Okay.
So, yeah, it was, and the thing was, they would allow you to introduce records, not with the record company on your, what would you come up with? And I would say, the scene is set, the smoke is cleared, and there appears the miracle of Robinson. Smokey Robinson and the miracles, I would say, right? It was all fun. And I loved the doo-wops. And I was right when the Beatles came in. And I was on the radio the night that oh God, what's his name? Died. Dock of the Bay.
Okay. I'm not gonna know. Yeah. I'm not gonna remember that off the cuff.
Yeah.
But speaking of off the cuff, I feel like
I was on the radio that night, and we stopped, played all his stuff. But so I guess I always had a lot of ham in me. All right.
You just needed that spotlight.
Yes,
From the
you
right
didn't
way.
disagree. But it came through, when I went to New York, my father passed away. So the business wasn't for me. And slowly I liquidated it. But I was nice enough or comfortable enough to go to New York. I was driving a big old Buick Regal. I had money in my pocket, and I said, well, I'm going to, and I bullshitted my way in to Lee Strasberg Theater Institute. Okay. And we would have on Friday nights, it was the beginners class and everything. And afterward, these kids came from Iowa, Wisconsin. They came from every place you could imagine, and they're struggling to do it. Now, I had money in my pocket because I had the business before, right? And at that time, I was 26. 26, yep. And most of these kids were 18, 19. So on Friday nights when we were done, I would take them to the Beef and Brew. And in the end, if I bought them all beer and a roast beef sandwich, it cost me $100, $120. At that point, I didn't care, right? I had the money. And one of the kids from Oklahoma, Jerome, he took me to the side, said, Leo, can I ask you a question here? I said, sure, Jerome, what do you want to ask? Whatever you want. He said, are you like a hitman? He couldn't figure how I could be in acting class and treat everybody when these kids were like, they were doing any job possible to stay in New York and make money, I said, no, Jerome, no, it's no. And then I ended up playing them. So who the hell knows?
So you had basically you went from radio personality. Now you're driving to New York City, right?
Yeah.
To kind of get a kickstart on everything. That's a big, brave move.
You know what? I think I had the freedom when my father passed away. It's like, do what you want to do now.
Yeah.
And the one thing I never did, and if it's any recommendation, if you have a desire to do something, don't put a time limit on it. Don't say, I have to make a good living by 5 years, or I'm going to, well, then you're in the wrong thing. Once I started acting, there's nothing else I could do. If I made $1 or, $1 million. And believe me, I've been from the penthouse to the basement and the penthouse so many times I'm wearing out the elevator. I mean, but it's what I love.
Yeah.
I teach sometimes, when my schedule does open up. And I get, and it's so funny because some actors, young actors, I feel like saying, you know what? You don't have it. You're not listening. You're not experiencing. But I keep my mouth shut because you can't rain on somebody's parade. And there's always that time, and it has happened, where the person, it kicks in. All of the things that I was talking about and preaching about, it kicks in. And they go on to have good careers.
And I think that could be said for many different careers. I mean,
I'm sure. I'm sure. I mean, radio's an interesting career too.
Yeah, because I imagine not everyone jumps into it with such a personality like yours, where you
thank you for that. I'm sure my wife will debate that, but that's okay. We've been married only 42 years.
Congrats on that, Leo.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's actually time for our first commercial break, so we'll head to that and come back in a few.
You got it.
Are you a fan of horror movies, books, comics, music, and collectibles? Rue Morgue magazine is for you. Subscribe today to receive 6 or 12 print issues annually and join me, executive editor Andrea Subissati, on an ongoing journey through the horror genre of the past, present, and future. Plus, get access to unmissable special editions such as A Century of Witches, 50 Years of Gore Cinema, British horror movies, and so much more. Rue Morgue, the world's premier horror and culture and entertainment magazine since 1997. Accept no substitute.
And we're back. Welcome back, Leo. I just wanted to talk about too now, in acting, once you started to get your first role, can you walk us through that? How you were able to get connected
sure.
to, and actually your first job?
Okay. Well, let me start with the jobs I didn't get. I got to New York, and I was a hustler, but I hadn't studied. Anything I did in Philly just was, community theater, and maybe I had a certain aptitude, right? But when I got to New York, it was like, how do you get auditions? How do you do this and that? So I went to a couple meetings, the actors and all, and the guy said, "You got to have a resume, man." I said, "But I don't have. What am I going to? I don't have much." "Well, you got to make it up." I said, "All right, all right." So I got the hit plays from the past and all this stuff, and I said, "All right." So I go into the cattle call, and I walk in, and the director was sitting there with the casting girl, and he's looking at my resume, and he goes, "Oh, I see that you did Waiting for Lefty." I said, yeah, I did." He said, "And you played Lefty?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, that must have been a real challenge." I said, "Well, it was, but I think I nailed it. Lefty never shows up." I never read the play. I
my
didn't know that Lefty never shows up. This guy must have said,
Got busted.
"What a jerk this guy is." I mean, so you learn the hard way.
Yes.
But I just I had a thirst for it. And if I would have applied myself in college, I was a business major, but I was on a football scholarship, so I didn't have to worry about studying. But once I got into it, and sometimes you got to regress before you progress. And I said, man, but then you start monitoring yourself. When before I was just going instinct. But when you do learn a craft, now I'm not saying, I'm not talking about my ability, but I know how to work. If I work with a Bob De Niro, with Edward Asner, who turns out to be a real force, Jodie Foster, Travolta, go right down the list. People I've worked with, big scenes, co-star, whatever. And then I started movies with guys that were William Forsythe, great actors. It's like I know how to work. And if it's an actor his first time out, I know how to work with him too, or her too.
Well, I'm sure there's protocol too, different things. Like something that you said before we went live was, if you could repeat that, the quote that from Jodie Foster.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And for all you people out there that think it's glamour, we were doing The Accused, which she won the Oscar for. And we were both totally committed to it. And the director told me coming in, he said, "I cast you in this. I want you to know, I want you to have no redeeming qualities." Now, actors like to be liked in their roles. I mean, even when you play a bad guy, you're like, and he stuck to it. And I stuck to it. But we had one day, it was a carryover from Friday night into Saturday. So it's golden time, overtime. And what happens is you were just sitting there after all these hours, waiting for another setup, get the lighting right. And she looks at me and I look at her. "Oh, we've been there forever." And she says, making a movie is a blue collar job. I said, you're absolutely right. And it's the truth. The glamour, I guess it comes afterward when you see it up on the screen, and I've been lucky enough to be in those. And it's like, yeah, that's what it's about. It's a lot of hard work. But, that's why I hope people would never come to a movie set because the people that they put on the pedestal are the stunt people because they can really see. They can't see an intimate scene with you and I. Let's say it's, in a coffee shop. They're way over there, the people with the yellow tape around, right? And it was like, okay, I mean, it's it's amazing. That just caused, I said yellow tape. Everything kicks into my mind. Um, I was starting out and I did a couple movies and you got a little name. And then I was doing guest stars on different shows. And there was a show, oh God, well, it was Johnny Depp's first show. They made a big movie into it, um, and they were filming in Vancouver, right? I didn't know who Johnny Depp was. I didn't
Oh,
think
was this
anybody else
21
did.
Jump Street?
Yeah, that was it. 21 Jump
Okay.
Street,
Okay.
and I played one of his mentors. Only a couple, 2 episodes, and so I had never met Johnny Depp. I didn't know Jump Street, but I needed the money. Okay. And so I was supposed to, you know him and what he did and all that stuff, meaning character wise,
Mm-hmm.
not acting name wise. So they flew me up to Vancouver and they had already started the shooting day. And then I was to work in the afternoons. I went to hair, makeup, and they said, "Listen, they're filming now about 2 miles from where you're going to be filming. We're going to shoot you over to where you're going to be filming." And I said, "Okay, good." And the whole thing was Johnny was supposed to be on a phone, and I was going to be over here undercover, and everything like this. Okay, I get there, and it's supposed to be a real, scene, tight, him, me, and I see the yellow tape. So I say to the location manager, "What is the yellow tape? People are going to know." And he said, "No, no, no." He said, "We'll be tight, but we have to do that because of Johnny."
Oh, okay.
I said, "Johnny? Who?" He said, "The kid, Johnny Depp, started a show." I said, "Well, what's that there for?" "Oh," he said, "we'll be filming after school. The girls will be all over this place." And I went, "Holy shit." And that's my indoctoring into Johnny Depp.
Well, and I imagine when you're working with different people, they're just co-stars to you,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. And, I brought up Edward Asner. And believe me, I've worked with on stage too. Same thing. Big, wonderful actors. Um, Edward Asner was one of the most powerful actors. We did a movie the week about, crack, something like that. And he's a powerful dude. He came, he had his conviction with the character, and baby, you better hold on to the door because he coming at you. He challenged you.
So would you say that he's someone that you kind of, I'm sure there's some people that you worked with, maybe even in the beginning, that's like, oh, okay, I really want to take something away from this.
Well,
And
his confidence.
like they inspired you. Yes.
For him, it's his confidence.
Okay.
He was just so confident, not in an arrogant way, but he can back it up, Now, De Niro, everybody, Bob De Niro, right? Well, he's not a real verbal guy, but he also communicates. Like when we were doing Analyze This, he came to me and go, "Leo, so what will happen when you come over here and we do here and we'll share, make it happen." And I went, "Oh, okay, Bob." And I'm like, "Oh my God, what did he mean?" By the third week of filming, I understood him 100% because he's a communicator. He can communicate.
Good.
And, now I have worked with other people that, for people out there, when you do a scene that's not the master is the shot of everybody in the scene, and then they go in for close-ups. No names mentioned. Why should I? Life's too short. But I have been in scenes where they film the master and then they film the stars close up.
Okay.
And then when it comes for your close up, the star is nowhere to be found.
Oh,
You do it to a piece of tape, and the script girl reads the lines.
okay. That's interesting. And that's not something that you would normally know from the audience perspective. And I mean, there's so many things that,
Yeah,
like you
yeah.
said, it's not glamorous how you said that. It's
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
very different.
And you know what?
Type
It's
of
the good ones don't. De Niro wants you to be better because then he'll be better. The other ones, ego. They'll be in their trailer. They'll be going there. They take a plane there. You know, it's all right. I put it in my book. That's it. You know, but for example, I'm doing a series now called Graves End, and it's not a horror movie. Graves End, all one word. It's on
Okay.
Amazon Prime. It's about Brooklyn in the 1980s, the mafia and all that stuff. And it's like, my God, some of the actors are coming to it. Talia Shire, Chaz Palminteri,
Wow, that's
all these things.
amazing.
Yeah. And it was like old home week. I'm working with these people, and I'm Mikey the Hat. And I asked the director, I said, look, you're writing great for me. You and I know each other a lot. But let me ask you one thing. I'm Mikey the Hat. He says, yeah. I said, there's 6 guys that are bald. I have the hair. And you put a hat on it? I was breaking his chops. But
Waste
yeah,
of a good look.
yeah. But it's good. And well, I guess I can tell it. We started our 3rd season, and dramatic acting debut, Shaquille O'Neal.
Really?
And I saw the dailies.
Okay.
And that's the thing. He's very subtle, very menacing, not the Shaq we know,
Okay.
because he's a bright guy, and he understands if he was going to do a show, it had to be something that's a departure from him, because
Okay.
he's got more money than God. I mean,
And he's not someone you would expect on that show.
exactly. And
So,
I don't have any scenes with him yet, but I told the director, if I'm supposed to be a tough guy in it, Mikey the Hat, right? I said, if I do a scene with him, I want 2 apple boxes to stand on, not 1. I want 2, because I'll look like a midget. He is a giant. I mean, a literal giant.
yeah.
But it's a good thing. It's good all the way around.
Well, very good about so it's 1 season down and going into the
No,
second
it's
season.
2 seasons down.
2 seasons
First season
down.
was a tryout. They gave 4 episodes. Second season, 9. This will be
Okay.
12.
Okay,
You
so you've
know,
gotten
and-
your feet wet in this.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I know Brooklyn like the back of my hand, man.
There you go.
Yeah, every eatery, which is a difficult situation
Yep.
because they the Sicilian pizza, the square slices. Oh,
Mamma
anyway.
mia. All right, so this is perfect timing now. We're going to do our announcements.
Okay.
Okay. So this coming weekend, we have Central Kentucky Mystical Market. So you'll want to go to scarefestweekend.com for more information. And then we also have Caribbean Carnival. That would be on February 15th, 2025 at the Clarion Hotel. MysticLunaEvents.com is where you'll want to go for more information on that, or find them on Facebook. Now, also, one more thing, support our host, Wes, on his Patreon at patreon.com/scarefestradio. He has blogs there, so you can hear about on the farm and all the little fun things that happen there, as well as any other, it would be, I don't know if anyone's been watching this, but there's Fear the Talking Heads is the new project. So patreon.com/scarefestradio. Okay, it's back to us.
All right.
So we've gotten through basically your start with leading up into movies like Halloween 2. So we if you're okay, we'll talk about that one.
Well, sure.
And going back to how things aren't what it seems, I noticed from the movie, you're getting into the hot tub, everything looks great, but then come to find out that water behind the scenes is not hot at all. So this just goes to say that a lot of times we're seeing one thing on the screen, someone maybe diving into the ocean and it's 30 degrees outside. So can you tell us about that?
Well, I know you're in Wisconsin, and I know that that's the Bible Belt of America. Well, sort of like it.
Indiana, maybe it's Bible Belt.
Maybe indeed. Okay. But
Wisconsin's a little more.
something happens to men when they are put naked in ice water. And Seinfeld said it best. Who was it? George Costanzo? He said shrinkage.
I don't know what you mean.
Yeah. And believe me, it was the water, and the director fought for me because the producer said that he's too East Coast. This is the Midwest. But he fought for me. So I owed the guy. And then Pamela, she'll say it, Pamela Shoop, she didn't want to do it nude. But we signed the contracts already because they need it for foreign sales. And she wouldn't do it. She said they called her agent in the morning, and I'm there with a robe and my little Speedo and waiting. And then, the director comes to me, Rick Rosenthal. He said, Leo, she's coming around. She's going to do it. They called her agent because this is a big thing. You signed a contract. You got to do it. And he says, look, take your robe off, get in, you throw your bathing suit off. She'll come around. I said, okay. All right, sure. Took the robe off. I put one toe into the hot tub. It was ice cold. Ice. I pulled my toe out. He looks me right in the eye. He said, Leo, I'm in a jam. Generator broke. You got to help me. Leo, I'm in a jam. The generator broke. You got to help me. The guy fought for me. So I did it.
And so they never, and this is where movie magic comes in, because if you're watching it in the movie, there's steam rolling up.
Oh, that's smoke. That's bee venom.
Oh, that's smoke. Okay, thank you for telling me.
That's
I'm like,
the bee
wait
venom.
a second.
That's how they get the steam.
Okay.
That's exactly right. Oh, yes. It was
tricky.
But so, I say, God punish me. I shouldn't be doing that anyway.
So were there any other scenes in Halloween 2 that you can talk about that were maybe took a little too long to produce, or any fun things behind scenes?
First of all, Jamie Lee, I had known Jamie Lee Curtis, and Chris Guest played on that's her husband now. He's director. He directed a lot of great movies, comedies, and he's got his own style. But Jamie Lee was a leader. Her father was Tony Curtis, and her mother was Janet Leigh, and her uncle was the head of Universal Studios. So she is a very, very pragmatic girl. She comes to work, and she wants everybody else to work. And she's very charitable. We did a big signing in Indianapolis, actually. And I think she donated all the money to Children's Hospital. She's good people.
Yeah, I did hear about that. Yeah, she doesn't do them too. Well, she did that one.
No, that was the
one. Yeah.
Yeah. And she still calls me Rossi. Rossi, get over here. Oh, yeah. But now she's having a blossoming in other dramatic work. in the Korean film.
The Bear. Well, she was in The Bear, that
Oh,
TV
the Bear.
show.
She played. Now I know her. How did she get a Sicilian grandmother or mother? She was a cigarette drooping out. I said, wow, she was wonderful, wonderful, and she won the Oscar for supporting in whatever the name of the movie was. But yeah, so she's like an acquaintance who is quasi friend.
Okay.
I mean, I have my friends are few and far between, because to me, being a friend is inviting somebody over to your house
Okay.
for the purpose of wanting them there, not what they can do for you.
Okay. Fair.
Different deal. Uh, when I used to live, now I live south of LA, but when I used to live in Studio City and West Hollywood, everything was, contacts here, there. You invited people over what they can do for you. Then I drew the line. I said, no, you're
Yeah, I
coming
could
into my
see.
house,
Yeah.
then it's somebody I really, care about. Yeah.
Well, I there was a question that I had too. You mentioned earlier about how you had this podcast, and I this was in, I call it the Leo Rossi rabbit hole that I was in yesterday. And I was online looking things up, and I said, "Oh my gosh, he has this podcast from 2020 to 2023. From what I understand, that's all you did was that 4
Yeah.
years, right?
Yeah. Yes.
4 years.
And Joe said, if I'm doing any more, I want them to pay me big money. Joe Pistone,
Yes.
AKA Donnie Brasco. I said, Joe, it don't work like that, but okay,
So can
But
you talk about this show?
yeah, we may come back. Um, it's in negotiations now.
Okay.
But my challenge was I knew Joe for 25 years. He's the most highly decorated undercover FBI agent in history. He won the Medal of Valor for the FBI, the J. Edgar Hoover Award. But he made his career in deep cover. In the 6 years that he was Donnie Brasco, 3 of those years he never saw his family. So why would these guys trust him? Because he was always there. Donnie was always there. And he comes from Paterson, New Jersey, where his father was owned a bar. So he would see the guys come in, the coppers and all that, right? And he would see the wise guys come in. He said, I always gravitated to the coppers. So he went into the Navy in Navy intelligence, and I said, oh, that's a miracle, Joe. And he said, why don't you go screw yourself? All right. This is our relationship.
Well, that was a question that I had, was how you guys even met. Because I'm like,
yeah,
what are the...
We met through a mutual friend, Bobby Moresco, who wrote Crash, won the Oscar for that, and we just hit it off. We come from basically Italian backgrounds, and he doesn't suffer fools, right? And we love to laugh. I can make him laugh, But what I said to him when we were offering the podcast, I said, Joe, let's be real now. You made your life out of not talking. Now I'm going to ask you everything. And if we want this thing to go, you got to be ruthless in your truth. He goes, yeah, all right, sure. All right. I went, well, we were all right with that, right? Yeah, sure. I went, oh boy. But he was so forthcoming with things about the inner workings of the mafia. And you know how I said that making a movie is not glamorous?
Right.
Being a mob guy is less than that. It is every day waking up, worrying about if you're going to get whacked, clipped, whatever they call it, or if you can make enough money to pay for the food. And maybe you make a big score, and then you don't make another score for it's.
Well, Leo, I have to tell you, I did listen to the first episode, and I said immediately, like, I have to listen to the rest of this. But before I
Oh, how
listened to the
nice!
rest of it, it just went down
Thank you.
as some people say, like a nice glass of wine. It was really well done. So I did want to make sure that I gave you a compliment on that.
And I appreciate that, Barb.
Yeah.
It's we bared a lot of soul there,
Yeah.
and if it entertained people, which is the ultimate, yeah.
Yeah.
But if they learn something about, what you think is glamour,
Right.
you know,
Well, the
not in
thing,
that life.
what I wanted to do so I went in right away to the Apple Podcasts and I hit follow because I don't want to forget this. And
Sure.
so I want to go back and rewatch Donnie Brasco because it's been years since I've seen it.
Oh yeah.
And now I'm like captive audience, but I
Yeah.
want to rewatch that so that when I'm listening to your podcast, it's all clear, in my head on
You know the
who's who.
players.
Yes,
here
I
and
know the
there, yeah.
players exactly because
Oh,
right
he
now I
said-
don't remember.
He told me something. Well, maybe you heard it on the podcast. Lefty Guns, Lefty Two Guns Ruggiero, right? And Al Pacino played him in the movie, right?
Okay.
Well, Joe said, I think he said it on air, but I know he said it. He said, if there's anybody in this world that I would be capable of killing, it would be Lefty.
Oh,
He said
gosh.
he drove me nuts. He would smoke in the car with the windows up because he didn't want the air conditioning. He would, he said, "Ah." But it really is no holds barred what you're hearing.
Well, and
You know.
if it's 3 or 4 seasons, I mean, there's plenty of information there.
Oh
So
yeah.
now,
yeah.
are you planning on? 'Cause I always tell Wes this. He has a perfect radio voice. I feel like you have a really good radio voice, and so I'm just wondering if you were planning on restarting this even with someone else, where you're kind of maybe going over their life, and you could
Yeah.
create a whole season out of it,
Well,
right?
thanks for the compliment, and I enjoy it. You see my microphone here. It's nice. Yeah, it's nice.
It is nice.
I'm
Yes.
proud of that. Yeah. But yes, I have thought about it because as my friend says to me, Bobby Costanzo, character actor, he said, Leo, you could talk to an artichoke. Okay. I said, well, is that a compliment? No, but I enjoy finding out about people as you do, which is
Yes.
why you're doing what you do. And I do have a lot of stories. I'm writing a one-man show. I probably won't have any friends when I'm done this show. No, but it hopefully it makes people laugh and like this. In the meantime, I'm still going strong.
Well, podcasts are very trendy, so everyone it seems to lean towards that now, whether they're watching it on YouTube or listening.
Somebody actually presented me with I wrote a script that I was paid for and everything, and hasn't got made yet. But the fellow that I based it on, real life, he's been approached by Netflix and some of the biggest History Channel for a reality show. And I would be what I did to write the script. I stayed with him for a month. So it would be the questions that I ask him, plus his friends who are, they're way out there, right? And it looks like it's going to happen. I'll keep you posted.
Great. Yes, keep me posted. Are you on socials or no? I don't think I saw you on socials.
I don't do that. And I should. People tell me, oh, you should. And I go, well,
I mean, you're not missing a ton. It used to be more.
Right.
It used to be more social. I feel like it used to be more about connecting with people, but I feel like people don't really use it in that same way anymore. It's either memes or reels, and it's not really like what it used to be.
It's like to me, it's like braggy.
It's braggy.
You know,
It can
better,
be.
better let somebody else tell you how good you are.
Right.
I mean, then you telling us how good you are or what a great life you have, how happy you are. I don't know. Hey, who knows? In 6 months, you'll say, Leo, you told me you weren't. Well, okay. I
You
caved
might.
in.
Never
I
say
caved
never.
in. Nah, that's it. Without a doubt.
Perfect. All right, Leo. So we are going to take a break so that we can watch Joe Lewis from Bonehead Weekly talk about a movie, give his movie review.
Okay. And we'll be.
Hey, Scarefest, this is Joe Lewis of Bonehead Weekly with this review. Every time I think I am so done with zombies, I don't want to see another zombie movie for the rest of my life. Somebody makes something that I go, well, I got to watch something for this week so Wes won't yell at me and have a good review. And here we are this week with something that I actually kind of enjoyed. In fact, one of the reviewers I was looking up, one of the people, just regular people like you, reviewed it on IMDb, said it's probably one of the best character-driven zombie films since 28 Days Later, and I totally agree. This movie is currently on Amazon Prime, and it's called Apocalypse Z, The Beginning of the End. And actually, it's based on 3 books, a trilogy of books, and this, I guess, takes place in the first book by someone named Manuel Lerero. And it takes place in Spain. So some of you are going to not like this movie because it's dubbed, and I've heard this before. It's like, I don't want subtitles and I don't want dubbed. Well, I don't know what to tell you. It's dubbed, and it's a pretty good film. Basically, the lead character, Manuel, is sheltering from, and it's kind of like 28 Days Later. It's rabid zombie kind of rabies kind of disease. And this looks at it in a much, and it's going across the planet, but we only kind of focused in Spain in this little area, and he has to eventually leave. His sister is somewhere off. A part of the first part of the movie that gives you a little gravitas, a little backstory about his life, what's kind of sad. He's an attorney, makes solar panels, and things haven't just been great for him the last year, that you'll find out when you watch it. And he has to make a journey to try to find his sister. She is married to someone who works in the government, and they're in the Canary Islands, and he's trying to get there. It's a good movie. It's really well acted. It's really well executed, but there's nothing new. If you've ever seen a zombie movie, you know exactly what happens, what can happen. There's even a part where, trigger warning for you parents, maybe with newborns, there's one particular scene's a little rough. It's really quick, but it just depressed me. This movie depressed me. I watched it over 3 days, and it's because its character, it's kind of sad. And it's not the saddest movie I've ever seen, but for some odd reason, it just depressed me. And I had a hard time getting through it over 3 days, and it's not because it's a bad movie. It's just, these are believable people. And that's the best compliment I could give. It's just a little sad. There's not a lot of hope. It's not the most bleak thing I've ever watched. There's way, way more bleak films. He does get a little bit of redemption at the end, and he's a good dude. You're following a good person who's trying to make the best through a really bad situation, and they make it fairly believable of what would happen. What, I mean, if you were there, how would this go? How would this transfer? How would the government handle it? How would you navigate your way? It's a pretty believable movie. This movie has 3-dimensional characters that you care about, that you don't want things to happen to them. And that's the best compliment you could almost give to any movie, especially a horror film, that does sometimes never pays attention to characters. It's all about character, as Tom Holland said on the stage at Scarefest. He's right. Character. These are believable characters. This movie is pretty good, and you should definitely check it out if you have Amazon Prime. It's called Apocalypse Z, The Beginning of the End. Once again, based on 3 books. Would I watch the next 2 movies? Absolutely. It's pretty good. And the acting in it is so good. I mean, just some of you are going to complain about the dub. I don't care. It's a really good movie that you should check out. I think the IMDb rating is 6.1. It's better than that. The only issue I can throw at it is that I've seen it all before. Even the third act that takes place in a hospital, not giving anything away, is very reminiscent of that World War Z, which is nothing like the book. So if you get a chance, watch this movie. This has been Joe Lewis of Bonehead Weekly.
All right, welcome back, Leo. There's a couple more questions I want to ask you.
Sure.
The first one is, so from what I understand, the original plan for Halloween 2 was that they were going to have it in a high-rise apartment building. Now, if they had done that instead of the hospital setting, what character do you think you would have had? The super in the building?
Well, if the producer had her way, I'd be the guy that's thrown out the window in the first act.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. But I'm glad it turned out the way it is. It's so funny in that in the signings, and I mean, it's taken me to Europe, and it's taken me because to me, the genre of horror films, horror thriller, the fans are the absolute best. And I'm not kissing ass. I mean, the people that come up to me, and I try to make them feel special because they make me feel special. And they have their kids and they have everything. It's they're loyal, they're consistent, and it has forced me to write a horror thriller.
Oh, really?
And it's called No One Sleeps.
Okay.
And the reason somebody sent me a treatment, not a treatment, it was a 3-page synopsis. And, and I honor that. If somebody's going to do that, I said, I didn't really like where it was going, but I did like 2 things that it did touch on. And one was sleep deprivation. Because since COVID, that is an epidemic, pandemic, whatever you want to call it.
You are not wrong.
Yeah, it's, and the other thing was fake news. Who could believe anything? And so, as it turns out, I said, well, let me get somebody to try to finance me writing it. And somebody did. And then I went, oh, shit, now I got to write it. And it's like, wait a minute. I know I've been in them. Boy, what a learning curve. Because point of view is so, for people out there, point of view is who is watching what the people on screen are doing. Because that goes through the entire movie. And it's like, that became a whole learning curve for me. And the other thing is, all the great horror movies have a subplot. And here's the big story, but you need a subplot to fall back on. So I have Rick Rosenthal, who directed Halloween 2 and Halloween Resurrection, the 2 big moneymakers, right? And he's come on to direct it. And now we're trying to raise the financing.
Oh, are you doing some kind of a Kickstarter for that then?
I've never done that yet.
Okay.
But
you should look into that.
I actually, that's interesting. Yeah. And
give that some thought.
There are some states, Minnesota, which close to you, they're giving great tax credits.
Oh, take advantage of all of that.
Oh, are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
What I wrote Gotti, the movie with Travolta. I wrote that too. And we filmed Gotti, which he's a guy from New York, the 5 families. We filmed 80% of that in Cincinnati.
Really?
Why? 40%, 40% tax rebate.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it was cheaper, just cheaper to do it there.
No, because we had to fly a lot of the technical people in.
Okay.
Stuff. But we flew them in from Atlanta, so it was a little better,
Okay.
But yeah, man, look, money is always tight to raise, but it's something that I'm really proud of because I had like 4 rewrites, and I kept trying to make it better and better and better, and I think it delivers, but we'll see.
Well, we'll definitely keep our eyes open for that. Now, I did want to ask one more question before we go. Can we talk about Maniac Cop 2?
You certainly can.
Okay. So first of all, if anyone has not seen Maniac Cop, there's 3 of them, and they are cheesy gold for like, I want to say 80s. The first one's from like late 1980s. The second one, though, that you were in was from 1990, but all 3 of them are on Tubi. And I think they're a good time myself. So
you know what? I do too.
Yes.
I mean, first of all, I was offered the role. because I had done Relentless for Bill Lustig, who was directed, and I did 3 sequels to the Relentless. So I owed him. And he sent me the script, and I went, wow, this guy is way out there. I mean, he is way out there, right? I, I accepted it. And then I said, I could see him. I want him to have a beard and hair, you know. And what I didn't know was I went to college on a football scholarship. I never grew a beard. My father would chop my head off, right? When I grew a beard, my hair goes up here. Who would know?
Like
I
a
never-
wolf man.
I grew up here, and it was like, oh my God. And I went to New York early, and I said, I don't know this guy. And back then, New York, you know, Times Square, seedy, seedy, seedy. And I said, well, nobody's going to recognize me. And so I went into one of those where you pick a girl out and she's behind plexiglass, you're behind plexiglass. I said, let me see. So I went in and I did it, and something hit me. And she's dancing, and I never took my eyes off of her eyes. And then you went down, the thing came down, put another $5 and it came up, and she's dancing, and I never took my eyes. So I put another 5. 2 big goons come. They drag me out into Broadway and throw me in the street. They thought, and I went, I think I'm onto something here. So if you see that movie, as you did, you watch my eyes when the
Well,
girls are dead. Never
it's
take my eyes.
genius. It's genius, honestly, because it's very unsettling.
It's I don't know what this means. Good Catholic boy, goes to church every day, but I really that's one of my favorite characters because he was way, way out there.
Oh, he was chaotic, very
Yeah.
chaotic. And I
Yeah.
thought, I was wondering where your inspiration came from for him too, because he almost had some Manson, like Charles
Yeah.
Manson vibes to
Yes.
it. Wouldn't you say
Yeah.
a little bit?
A little bit.
Oh.
It's, you know, when you get to that, like it starts to become part of your heart, your soul. Now, you know, it's not nice when you go home and say, "Yeah, pass the F and B's, peas," you know, something. You know, that's not, your wife doesn't appreciate that. But I was in New York filming it and everything, and like when I run through the window, crash through the window and trap her down and everything, and this line came out, and after they yelled cut, and the director said, "Where did that come from?" Because I put it and I go, "I feel like John fucking Wayne." Where did that come from? I don't
Wait,
know.
did you ad-lib that?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Some of the best lines come from improv.
Oh my God. And the director said, "Where did that come from?" I said, "I have no idea."
Oh,
Who
I'm
knows?
so glad you shared that with us because I
Oh,
didn't know that.
yeah, that's it. But boy,
Oh,
you did
good.
your homework, and I thank you for that.
Oh, thank you, Leo. Honestly,
It's good.
this was a good interview. I felt like you really shared so much with us, and I appreciate
Well,
that.
you made it easy,
Oh, thank
and
you.
and you enjoy what you do.
Yeah.
That comes across. So
Yeah.
that's bravo to you.
Yes. So anyone out there watching, make sure that you check out the podcast, which is named Deep Cover, The Real Donnie Brasco, because it's
Yeah.
out there. There's about 3-4 seasons.
Yeah, 3 seasons. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
All good.
And keep an eye out for Leo Rossi's new project, right?
Yes, Gravesend. And it's
Gravesend?
not a horror film, but you'll like it, I think, hopefully.
But the horror film is coming.
Yeah. Ah,
Uh-huh.
from your lips to God's ears. Yeah,
All right. Thank you, Leo. And hope you have a wonderful night. And we'll hopefully get you back on the show, right?
right back.
Okay.
Have a great
All
one.
right. Have a good
Bye-bye.
night. Bye bye.